Welcome to the Vault Studios Fantasy Football Podcast, your one-stop shop for all fantasy football info. Here are your hosts.
Welcome to the Vault Studio Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Lewis, and I am joined, as always, by Corey. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. We are in week 13, and for many of you, this represents the final game of the regular season for the 2021 fantasy football season. It has been a journey. And I know that's not all of your leagues. I know some of you will be starting in week 15 because of the extended season. But I'm playing in a few leagues, and I know quite a lot of leagues that have decided to just keep weeks 17 and 18 to the side till we sort of see how the season plays out, and just go with the traditional 16-week season, which would give weeks 14, 15, and 16 in a 12-team league for your playoffs. So, yeah, man, we are at the business end of the season.
We definitely are, and it's been a wild and crazy season in lots of ways. So many injuries. Well, what feels like so many injuries. I'm sure if you rewind this podcast back to last year, we're saying the same thing.
Probably saying the same. I don't know, man. This feels really bad.
We always say that. It's just because of the key players that are involved. And then, obviously there's players that have let us down throughout the season as well. Guys that we kind of expected to rely on. And yeah, it's just kind of been a very interesting season. There's been quite a few surprises as well. Like, who thought Cordarrelle Patterson would be a top 5 running back? Things like that. So, and that's fantasy for you. Like, we can try to be grand like wizards and try to figure this stuff out. But, it's not realistic. And at the end of the day, like that, I think that's what makes really good fantasy owners is the ability to, chop and change on a fly and make roster moves ahead of time, kind of look at, what's happening with every team and trying to get those extra pieces on your roster. So when injuries do happen, that you can still survive and, make up for those points. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're at that point of the season now where I'm sort of reflecting on how the year's gone. And my downfall I've just been in too many leagues. I just kept adding and adding over the last couple of years. And I've said it a couple of times, I need to cut down, but really this year has been a real struggle for me to be proactive and keep on top of waivers across all of the leagues that I'm playing in. And so that's been my big weakness. I've identified that as something that I need to improve on for next season. And as you said, being proactive, managing your roster, getting those depth pieces, looking ahead down the schedule, trading for players who are coming up, and really active roster management can be key to either managing injuries, avoiding injuries, or getting those great matchups down the line by being a proactive. And so, yeah, that's something that I'm going to look to improve on next year. We always try to get better every single year we play. But for now, let's focus on week 13 and what's going on. A few pieces of news, though, always related around injury at this point of the season. Christian McCaffrey, done for the year. He's gone back to his second stint on IR with the ankle. So great. Thanks, Panthers. You fucked us again. So that's it for Christian McCaffrey. And once again, teams giving these giant fucking guaranteed contracts to running backs and then giving them these huge workloads and expecting them to. It doesn't work, people. Stop doing it. Oh, no, there's the exception. I guarantee in 3 years' time, the Colts are going to give Jonathan Taylor an enormous fuck-off contract, and everyone's going to be like, yes, Jonathan Taylor is the heart and soul of that team. He carries that franchise, and it will end up being another dud. Alvin Kamara, who's doubtful, he's been banged up. He's missed some time. He's got a giant. You just cannot depend on a running back to carry the load for 16 games and justify these monstrous contracts. Dalvin Cook, it's everyone, man. It's just the nature of the position. And I also think as well, and I this is just a pure theory. I have no real evidence to back this up or anything like that. But I just think running backs are a little softer than they used to be, because they are more pass catching. Pass catching is more of a priority the way the NFL's going. They need to be shiftier. They need to be more dynamic. And I think they forfeit some of that thickness and that heft and strength and downhill running power that we used to see with running backs 20 years ago. And I think they were a bit more durable. Now, I could be completely off and I just don't have the proper knowledge, but it just feels to me that running backs are just so much smaller and unable to carry these workloads that you see that great running backs back in the day used to have. It wasn't unheard of to have 25 carries a game.
Right. Well, a lot of those guys ended up, falling off cliffs because of that.
Right, but so do these guys though. Like very few running backs are still going, right? And that's the reality of the position. Look, I just think they're built a bit differently. That's all.
Yeah, and I think there was a few cases of this. It was called the curse of 370, and it was a big thing. I think Football Outsiders did it back in the day. Like Ricky Williams, and then there's like Natron Means, and there's Larry Johnson, and all these huge volume, huge touchdown scores, like just getting touch after touch after touch. DeMarco Murray is a popular one. Just going over that 370 mark. Derrick Henry's the latest, so he went over 370 last year. Now he's hurt. So it's, I don't know. I don't think it's that arbitrary. It's not like they get the 370 carry and they're like,
just when they get to 369, stop. You are immune from injury if you stop right now.
Right, but I do think that with these guys, they just need to do a better job of managing their carries. Like no one should be getting over 15 touches a game really anymore in the NFL. I think that's just a smart way to do it. And there's no way I'd be paying a running back at this stage. Like there's so many, like we saw even with the Tennessee Titans last week against the Patriots. Like Patriots run D hasn't been the best, but they ran for 300 yards with guys that we've never heard of.
Hey man, don't disrespect Dontrell Hilliard like that. Household name Hilliard is what he goes by. That's how well known he is.
Sorry. Maybe he's related to the Dalton Hilliard from Tecmo Super Bowl days on the Saints. But yeah, I think it's very interesting. CMC goes down again. I've been all over the sell CMC for 2 years now, so I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but at the same time, like
I'll pat it
because of his workload, it was always a question mark. And his ability, like the fact that he was so dominant for 2 seasons in a row, I was like, whoa, like that usually doesn't happen. Like we've seen it a couple times, like in history. So for people to think that it's just going to keep going, like number one dynasty running back, like no, like. It just doesn't repeat itself like that. Like you have to start looking for the next thing. So I don't know. I think you have to be a little bit earlier than late on running backs in Dynasty. I think that's the smarter way to play it, even though it can probably bite you in the butt a couple times. But at the same time, you're looking for value. And I think once, you have that back that goes off for like 2-3 seasons in a row, like it's time to start jumping ship.
100% agree. Like you, at the start of the season, I was very much on the set, like move CMC off the number one dynasty rankings. And I did a little comparison of him versus Ezekiel Elliott and how quickly you can drop off from being the consensus number one running back by ADP. And it's sort of inevitable. And, I've got Jonathan Taylor, fortunately, in a couple of dynasty leagues, but 2 seasons, I'll be moving him on. Potentially the second he gets that big contract from the Colts.
Right.
That's his value will never be higher. And at that point, you sell him for a small fortune and acquire a bunch of picks and get some older veteran receivers coming back the other way, something like that, and just keep churning these running backs. And I think if I was an NFL team, I would be hammering dart throws at running backs from rounds 5 through 7 and undrafted free agent, and just running them through a rotation, practice squad, just seeing what you can do, seeing what sticks, and just and just going that way. Anyway, we could do hours and hours of podcasting on running back theory and all this kind of stuff. So let's move on because quickly I'm going to just say that AJ Brown has gone to the IR, so he's going to be out for at least 3 weeks now, which absolutely sucks. It's just been a really bad year all round for AJ Brown dealing with these niggling injuries, and the Titans passing game as a whole has really fallen off. For me, AJ Brown's going to be a huge buy low bounce back candidate next year. People will get scared off by the injury tag. Of course, I'm going to go and all of the injury experts that I follow will have their opinion, so I'll go with that. But it seems to me these have just been small niggling things, potentially as a result of his knee surgeries. So next season, I'll be looking for him to bounce back. Antonio Brown has got potentially going to miss 2 more weeks, which would put him bringing back right in the middle of the fantasy playoffs in week 15. Now, I'm not sure now that Gronk is back as well and looking electric. Like how much can you trust to play Antonio Brown with Evans, Godwin, Gronkowski, Lombardi, Lenny all of a sudden getting touches, and then Antonio Brown? Are you really going to be bold enough to play him in week 15? And then
not in the playoffs.
Not in the playoffs. So I feel disgusting saying this, but if you're in a real pinch, particularly with 4 pretty good potential fantasy options on a bye, although it's probably been thinned out by injury, he might be in droppable territory. If you desperately need to get a win to get into the playoffs, for example, if you're already in and you can carry that, but if you're really pushing for the playoffs and you're, saving AB for a rainy day, break open that cupboard right now, because there's going to be no more days if you don't make the moves that you need to get into the playoffs. So that's where I am with AB. Corey, are you sort of feeling the same way on that, or anything else you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I mean, with AB, I think it's just wait and see. I mean, if you can hold him and then he has a nice game week 15, then I'd probably be more likely to play him week 16 or week 17, because I feel like, especially if the Bucs are in the driver's seat for the 1 seed, we'll see where they're at. But I think that's the time when they try to get him up to speed and get going again. So before the playoffs start. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But the Bucs, we'll talk about the Bucs later. But yeah, they were pretty run heavy last week. I mean, they got it done on the ground when Brady really didn't have to do much.
Yeah, not at all. And the last thing I think we already mentioned, Alvin Kamara is doubtful this week. So make plans accordingly. Mark Ingram should be playing, so you won't be forced to trot out whatever imposter is Tony Jones is pretending to be an NFL running back. So I said there was some teams on buys. We've got the Carolina Panthers, Green Bay Packers, Cleveland Browns, and Tennessee Titans. So some of those will have big fantasy impacts, some less, but plan accordingly. So let's get cooking. We have Thursday night football. Actually, I think this podcast is going to go after Thursday night football. So all I'll say on this note is
we don't need to talk about it.
It's just that the Cowboys will have had their entire starting offense out for the first time. Out on the field in its entirety for the first time this year, with Amari Cooper coming back. So I'm looking to see how that gets going with the Cowboys looking to get things firing. But apart from that, let's move on to the absolute matchup of the week: Texans versus Colts. Not much to say on this game except Brandon Cooks, baby. That's it.
That's it. That's it for you.
For me, that's on my side. Brandon Cooks had a great touchdown reception last week. We know about his target share. The Colts can be got at with wide receivers. They're not great at a pass defense. So yeah, don't feel concerned about playing Brandon Cooks at all. That's my takeaway for this game.
Yeah, I like it. I would just add that obviously this is a JT awesome spot here. Also, this is T.Y. Hilton territory. T.Y. Hilton absolutely has his name in the stadium, and with the Texans, like he half owns the team. He has been in 19 games versus the Texans. He's averaged 5 receptions, 94 yards, and 0.5 of a touchdown. So he's an absolute smash spot. Again, interesting. He's probably flex worthy. I would willing to take a dart throw. He had 4 for 80 returning in week 6 against the Texans last time they played.
It's just a thing. T.Y. Hilton owns the
T.Y.
Texans.
Hilton,
Hey,
Texans,
you may we may as well start calling him T.Y. McNair, to be honest, because he just does own the Texans. Definitely love that call. Play T.Y. Hilton. Lions versus Vikings. Another injury. DeAndre Swift is week to week, but given where the team is without a win, heading towards the number 1 pick at a rapid pace, the comments from Dan Campbell on multiple occasions about not wanting to, burn the rubber off DeAndre Swift, not wanting to run him into the ground. You can imagine they're going to slow play this one. So expect to see a lot of Jamal Williams, maybe some
Jamar Jefferson back?
Jamar Jefferson should be back this week as well. So he's an interesting play because Williams is a pretty good pass catcher, better than people give him credit for. So you might see him take up some more of that Swift role and Jamar Jefferson get that early down running role. But I think the Lions are going to be in catch-up mode anyway. And so, Jamal Williams sounds crazy to say, but he's got given some of the running backs on bye, some of the injuries, I think you've got to rank Jamal Williams maybe inside your top 12 this week.
Ooh, top 12. Yeah, definitely top 20. I think he's definitely RB2. I think he could have a really nice game in this one. I think he could have anywhere from 5 to 8 catches in this game.
And that's the upside I'm hunting for, right? That's it.
Right. And if he gets in the end zone, then you're golden.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just say as well, we know how bad this Lions defense is. Kirk Cousins, baby. Fire him up. He gets no love because he's a statue. He gets no rushing points, but he throws the ball and he's been slinging it hot this year to Mr. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson.
He definitely has, and Madison is going to be the running back, and they tend to throw the ball more when their offense actually looks really good when Madison's in there and Cook's out.
It's almost stop force feeding the ball to our elite running back, and he is elite, but my goodness, just call a balanced game. Stubborn bastards. By the way, I'm real pissed off because Madison, I know he's going to smash because he's going against the Detroit fucking Lions. And of course, I'm one of my home leagues. I'm in a must-win game to try and get into the playoffs. And of course, my man has been hoarding Alexander Madison since the draft. And this is the week. This is the week.
This is why you have him.
This is why you have him. Unbelievable. I've had the worst luck in that league. All right, Dolphins versus Giants. Not often I do this, but I'm recommending it and touting a defensive play this week because the Dolphins defense, while it isn't great, is going to be playing against Mike Giraffe Neck Glennon, who has 0 mobility, 0 rushing upside, and 0 ability to play as a starting quarterback in the NFL. We could be looking at a real nasty game here with potentially Kadarius Toney out as well, maybe Sterling Shepard. Giants are banged up. We know their offensive line isn't great. And while the Dolphins defense isn't some kind of elite unit, anytime you can play someone against Mike Glennon, you just say thank you and do it.
Yeah, that's brutal. This Giants team is just a mess. Obviously, they talked about their GM out of there after this year. So we'll see what happens with the Giants going forward. I don't think Daniel Jones is the answer. If you have him in a super flex league, I don't know what you do with him at this point. Just hope that he gets you some points for wherever he lands. But I mean, Jalen Waddle on the other side of the ball has been really good. I mean,
money.
It's just been they're just peppering him. He just gets peppered with targets. So,
and like we talked about on the show last week, he broke a big play. He had a nice big reception, got out into the open field, and he got in the end zone as well. It was a huge day for Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, you're firing him up as potential QB1 wide receiver 1, not QB1. Don't play on the quarterback.
I mean, the Dolphins have been using some wildcat. Maybe they throw Jalen Waddle back there and just say, "Hey, man, get the ball in your hands and play." We'll move on. The last thing I just want to say, my favorite Dave Gettleman moment ever, because he is just an incompetent, old, just absolute cocoon piece of shit general manager was when he was getting grilled about the signing of Jonathan Stewart to the Giants and said, Jonathan Stewart has played in this league for 8 or 9 years. He's still got a lot to offer. And he had like 6 or 8 more carries in his entire NFL career after that and was cut, and no other team wanted to touch him. I think it's hilarious. Falcons versus the aforementioned Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and all I've got to say is Lombardi Lenny, Lucas Oil Lenny. What a performance. Jonathan Taylor-esque, Austin Eckler-esque, just a monstrous game from Leonard Fournette. Seriously, he went absolutely nuts.
He did. And look, Leonard Fournette is in a really good situation. Like, if you look at every running back that the Brady's ever had is put in a really good situation.
Of course.
He drives him down the field, gets the ball down the 2-yard line, put it in your belly, and you run it in the end zone. Like,
he had a few big runs though as well. It wasn't all that. And the thing that I like, obviously the touchdowns, they're fun to talk about. They rack up your big scores, but it's not sustainable. But what has been sustainable for Leonard Fournette is his passing down work and his 2-minute drill work as well. And he's really made that his own, and that's where the value comes from. And so maybe that isn't going to be key against the Falcons because it's the Falcons and they fucking stink. But, moving forward, he's still going to get some volume. And then I think for the rest of the season, he's in a really good spot provided he stays healthy.
Yeah, in the first meeting between these two teams, Brady threw for 5 touchdowns. Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns in that game. So I expect something similar. I mean, they gave Fournette tons of touchdowns last week. They could have easily thrown them. I'm not saying they couldn't have done that. But Gronk had 2, Godwin had 1, and Evans had 2 last time these guys played. So I expect Brady to have like a 3 touchdown game in this one at least. Yeah,
he's got 30 on the year so far. I'm with 6
If he wants
games.
MVP, he needs another 5 touchdown games.
With 6 games left, they would have if he could get another. What's reasonable?
45, would he be MVP?
Yeah, I think so. I think he could get there. The narrative is definitely there to support that, with Kyler Murray falling off and Josh Allen having a down year, and yeah, it's definitely possible if he goes on a tear. So with 1 touchdown last week, he might be looking to correct that and pad those stats out just a little bit. And the Atlanta Falcons are the perfect team to do that against. So yeah, love this Brady call. Jets versus Eagles. Not a game I'm very interested in, but basically this is a health-related decision, whether it's I'm having Miles Sanders. I was having a complete mind break. I kept going Barry. It's like, no, not Barry. That's Miles.
Please be Barry.
Please be Barry. Miles Sanders. If he's healthy, you're playing him or Boston Scott. The point is here, the Jets give up the most points to running backs. They are just an absolute sieve. They give up a ton of points through the to receptions as well, but they give up tons and tons of rushing touchdowns. They've given up 17 so far this season. They're just so easy to get in the end zone against. So, yeah, I'm playing Sanders if he's healthy, or I'm playing Boston Scott in this matchup.
Yeah, that's a fair call. I think with this Eagles team, it's going to be interesting. Hurts is banged up. Sounds like he'll go. But if Hurts is limited, I don't know what this Eagles offense is going to look like. Yeah, I don't think he's been very good throwing the ball. Actually throwing the ball and reading defenses. The Jets are gonna be physical. They've played physical all year long. Obviously, sometimes to their detriment, but that's what they're lining up, and they're gonna play tough. So it'll be interesting to see how this Eagles offense works, especially is Howard still out?
I think Howard's still out, yeah.
Wow. All right. So we're, Miles Sanders banged up. Boston Scott's not the biggest back in the world. So
is this a trap game for the Eagles? Is this bet the spread for the Jets to cover?
I mean, underdogs are on a crazy run this year. So
they are.
I wouldn't put
Hungry dogs run faster, baby.
But, I just don't know what the Jets are going to do on offense. I guess they're going to try to throw the ball. I guess that's what you do against the Eagles. But, Zach Wilson's just been a mess.
He's bad. I'd love to get into a whole discussion about the Jets here and like whether they should draft another quarterback in this draft. But
no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Wow.
Definitely not.
You think that?
I'm in on Zach Wilson.
You're in on Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Wow.
His value is never going to be lower than this. I think
that's true. That's true.
I think you buy him this offseason and just chalk this up to inexperience. And the fact that they didn't put a veteran in that team from the get-go is just ridiculous. Now they got Flacco there. I think he should have learned something from watching.
You mean Flacco, who they released and then traded a pick to get back on the roster?
But it's like, why would you bring a rookie quarterback and then throw him in a room with Mike White? Like, how is he learning?
Please put some respect on Josh Johnson's name.
He wasn't even in the room now, was he? When he's like on practice squad?
I think he was like the third. Well, he would have been in the room, right? Like,
okay.
They're not just sitting him out. They got a practice squad quarterback room.
Right.
Like, sorry, Josh, you
got 5 career starts. Awesome. These are our number two
XFL
pick.
legends.
Here, learn everything you can from this guy. He knows it all.
Oh, dear me. Yeah. Okay. No, I appreciate that. I think I'm out on Wilson, but I can certainly, buying low, especially the Superflex leagues, I can see it certainly. But Bears versus Cardinals. Justin Fields should be back in this one. Accordingly, he's going to be healthy. But Andy Dalton was getting first-team reps on Wednesday, so I don't know what the Bears are doing here, man. Like, if he's going to be healthy to play, then get him the rep. Nothing that they do makes any sense. The only 2 Bears players I have interest in playing are David Montgomery and, to an extent, Darnell Mooney, who's kind of assuming this number 1 role now. When Andy Dalton came in, he looked in and targeted him, and Justin Fields has looked for him deep as well. A-Rob is banged up, and he's just miserable, man. Get free A-Rob. Get him out of Chicago. Free A-Rob. And the reason why I do like David Montgomery, even though on paper the Cardinals haven't given up a ton of points to running backs overall, they do give up quite a few receptions, and I think the Bears probably going to trail in this one. And also, they've massively overperformed in the rushing touchdown department. They've given up 1,000 yards rushing and only 4 rushing scores, where you'd expect to see them give them about 8 or 9. So, maybe Monty gets in the end zone here as well, because almost certainly the Bears are going to try and run the football in this one.
You talked about Allen Robinson. I think he's an interesting buy in Dynasty. I think I would try to get him.
Easily.
I think people kind of forget, like, especially if you're got some new guy in your Dynasty league and he's like
would you like
see past like this year? Like,
would you like a second round pick
for
Allen
Robinson and he ends up on the Chiefs next year and he's just killing it.
Honestly, pretty much anywhere else he's going to kill it. I've said several times I'd like to see him back in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, get him a proper wide receiver, somewhere he's just going to absorb 1 million targets a game. But it doesn't really matter because he's truly an elite wide receiver. He's been banged up and bad quarterback play, and this season hasn't really gone well. But stand aside this season, he's been one of the best in the NFL over the past few years.
It does sound like James Conner is going to get the full workload again this week. It's one more week for whatchamacallit?
Chase Edmonds.
Chase Edmonds. Also, I'd watch Kyler very carefully in this game if he does play. His injuries haven't been good. Like, I was listening to Chris Long on Ryan Russillo podcast, and they were talking about how, Kyler, when he gets hit or banged up, like, it's not for just 1 week. It's always like multiple weeks. Like, hurt his shoulder last year, multiple weeks. Like, he kind of rolled his ankle, like going towards the sticks. He's been out a month. Like, it's never like a simple injury with him. So we should keep an eye on him, see if he's moving right, if he's going to be running the ball, because that's a big part of, the plus upside with him.
Right. I'm curious. I've actually got the Russillo pod in my list, which so I'll probably listen to that when I go to the gym later. But I'm curious: do we think that's his because of his frame and his size that those injuries that keep a bigger quarterback out for a couple of weeks are less severe? Is it his toughness? Because I remember, is he not willing to play through significant pain? But I don't know. I'm not. I'm just sort of throwing rhetorical questions out there. It's an interesting one.
I don't know. I don't know either, because I heard a couple weeks ago that the Cardinals kind of left it up to him if he wanted to play or not, and he was like, "Yeah, no." But
wasn't that one of the knocks on him coming out? There was questions about sort of his toughness and whether he could handle. I don't know. I mean, all sorts of shit comes out at draft time.
I mean, he's small. Either way, he's small.
Yeah,
there's big guys up there trying to hurt him. So at the end of the day, like, it's just something we have to keep an eye on. I think if you have him, that you always have to kind of have that idea in the back of your head, like, you know, what happens with the next injury and how does he look? Because, yeah, he doesn't look like the same player when he's banged up.
Yeah, well, 100%. We saw that significantly last year in his splits post the shoulder injury. The rushing came down, and that really took a toll on his fantasy upside. So yeah, that's definitely important. Keep an eye on Kyler Murray. Bengals versus Chargers. This could be a really good game. Two of the bright young quarterback prospects, great wide receiver talent on both sides of the ball. Two great running backs. This is going to be a really, really fun game. I'm looking forward to this one. Now I've said all that, this game's going to be absolutely dog shit, and it's going to end 14-10 or something like that. But really looking forward to this one. And Corey, man, Joe Mixon must have listened to our podcast and said, we weren't sitting in, but we were worried about it. He just owned the Steelers. He just jammed it down the Steelers' throat. I mean, the entire Bengals team did. They went out there and stomped the life out of the Pittsburgh Steelers and snuffed out the remains, that last 1% of battery life on Big Ben's career. It was brutal.
It was, and, you know, we talked about Mixon last week, and I was a little bit worried because he had only had one 100-yard game against the Steelers in his career. Well, he definitely has two now, so he looked great. You know, all the Mixon doubters just so quiet on Twitter. You can't find them. You tweet at them like, "What happened?" Like, nothing. Crickets.
Nothing.
Just silence. So it's pretty funny at the end of the day, because, you know, obviously we've been pretty big Mixon guys. So it's funny just seeing like the absolute silence. Like, no apologies, no nothing, just silence.
Yeah,
the one thing deleting tweets.
Deleted tweets, yeah. You got to screenshot them. The one thing I will say is that I think obviously Mixon's having a great year, and he's sitting quite. I think he's like running back 4 or something like that.
Yeah,
but we have to be open to the fact that he's also managed to stay healthy while a lot of other running backs have just fallen to pieces around him, and maybe he wouldn't be quite so high. The thing that is still capping his ceiling from being the elite of the elite is just his passing game usage, and I don't know why, because he is a good pass catcher, but seemingly that's just something that we've got to factor in. I'm not too concerned in this matchup, because the Chargers are a mad run funnel defense. They will let you run the ball on them, and they'll try to take away the passing game. So I'm not concerned about that. And from a dynasty perspective, although we would love to see him be a complete 3-down bell cow workhorse running back, this Bengals offense is going to get better and better. It's loaded with weapons. And I think more often than not, you're going to see the Bengals be front runners in the next couple of years. So I'm not concerned about Joe Mixon's value at all. He has that contract. And the fact, going back, which I disagreed with, by the way, as much as I like Joe Mixon as a talented running back, but going back to our conversation at the start of the show about how the wheels will fall off if the touches aren't managed. Maybe we'd prefer him to have more receiving work because of the value. But the fact that they aren't running him into the ground is probably a pretty good sign, at least for the next couple of years with Joe Mixon. I'm under no illusion that the wheels will fall off and fall off quickly when they do.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked about this at the beginning of the podcast, like with running backs in Dynasty, like but with Mixon, because of his value was so low,
right?
I mean, the last couple seasons, like, I'm just going to ride him into the sunset. So, you know, I also think like he's ultra talented, but at the same time, you're not going to get the value that, you know, that we have, you know, in our heads for him. So, you know, that's not what we're saying when we say like move a year early. We're saying move a year early when you can get like, you know, 2 first-round picks and, you know, a veteran receiver and, you know, this and that for the player. It's not time to move on from the player when they're like, well, I don't really like Mixon, but yeah, I'll take him for a second round. Like, no.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just great to see Mixon just absolutely sticking it to the haters. Really, really good, having a great season, and long may it continue. Rams versus Jags. This could be an absolute massacre. You'd hope though, because the Rams have been absolutely terrible, really, considering they're 0-3 since their now famous all-in tweet since they acquired Odell Beckham, Von Miller. Just hasn't gone well for them. But the reality is it comes down to Matt Stafford. Stafford has not played well. He's been apparently more seriously injured than has been let on, and the Rams play their cards very close to their chest when it comes to injury reports. Some teams are more forthcoming. The Rams are certainly not one of those teams. With Stafford banged up, it just hasn't really worked out. But what did work out last week was Odell Beckham. It was promised and it delivered. He had a really nice touchdown reception from Stafford. And so one of the easier matchups he'll find. Expect him to be able to cook the Jags yet again, even if Stafford is playing with, probably at 70 or 80% of his capacity.
Yeah, I think it's Diana Rossini. She had the report on the weekend that he's dealing with all kinds of back issues and other stuff. It's like, come on, man. Like when you made this trade, like did we not go through this? They said he's got chronic back issues, and like they said on I think it was on Sharp's podcast, they're like, my dad has chronic back pain, and like there's mornings when he can't get up. Is it that bad, or is it like, you know, is it manageable? Like where like what stage of chronic back pain are we at? Like, because if it's serious, like that's a bad trade. I'm sorry.
Really bad trade. But, you know, where he's in LA, the NFL doesn't test for weed anymore. Let's get him some edibles and let's get him back out there.
Yeah, do something. But yeah, I expect this game to be a big Henderson day. So because of the injuries, because it's the Jags, I expect them to run the ball a ton. So Sony Michel, Henderson. I mean, Sony Michel might be a sneaky play as Henderson's on the injury report. He didn't practice today. He's got a thigh issue, but he's expected to play on the weekend. So, yeah, I like Henderson this week. I'd probably start him over the likes of like Saquon, guys like that this week. I think he's sneaky top 10 play. I think he'll end up with like 2 or 3 catches and probably, you know, anywhere from 12 to 15 carries. So I think he gets in the end zone maybe once, maybe twice. So we'll see.
Interesting. I saw some numbers floating around. I agree with the Henderson play, by the way. And Sony Michel's his sneaky few receptions, maybe gets in the end zone. We know the Rams love to run the football.
Yeah, they're blowing them out. They're going to pull everyone in.
So. Pull Henderson, get Sony Michel in. So, yeah, love that call. What I was going to say is I saw a stat going around. Sean McVay's play action rate is massively down, basically, on his entire career as a play caller with the Rams. It's dropped from something like 30-something to 16%, something in that range. It was an incredible drop-off. The question is why? Why are they not using play action? Why did they bring Matt Stafford in to upgrade their offense and then go away from what was working even with Jared Goff? So I'm curious to see whether that's something that's being addressed as a team, whether it's down to Stafford's physical limitations. I'm not entirely sure, but that would be good to see them get that going and get the offense firing again in a soft matchup against Jacksonville. Raiders versus Washington football team. I mean, I'm not really excited about this game. Darren Waller is day to day with a bruised knee or a bone bruise on his knee, which absolutely sucks if you've got Darren Waller around this time of the season. Hopefully he gets in, but if you don't, someone I'm playing instead, or playing anyway, is Logan Thomas. The third, last week he was eased in, but he gets a really nice matchup here against the Raiders, who've given up a ton of points to opposing tight ends. And with Ricky Seals-Jones, the second tight end, on the injury report and seriously questionable for this game, it could be a real nice Logan Thomas week.
Yeah, definitely could. I agree with that. I don't know. This Washington football team is very interesting. As far as like pass catchers go, like DeAndre Carter played tons of snaps the other day, but didn't really do much. But Terry McLaurin missed a big catch down the sideline. I was hoping he'd pull that one away, but he couldn't get it. But this Raiders team is interesting too, and I think Deshaun Jackson I think he's flex worthy. And in a matchup, if you're hurting a receiver, I know he was out there on the waiver wire and he's hidden because I don't think his projection is very high either. So like I know a lot of people go to their website and they'll look at projection and kind of list the guys out. I snuck him in a dynasty league. He was just sitting there on the waiver wire and I was like, I'll take a shot at Deshaun Jackson. Because
it takes one play. It takes one play, man.
It's boom or bust. And I usually try to shy away from those guys, but in situations where you're, it's either that or you're playing Jamison Crowder and you're hoping that he gets 3 catches and a touchdown.
Right.
Let's throw D-Jax out there and hope for that, 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I don't hate that. And in one league where I'm projected to be down badly and Carr is my quarterback too, I might actually try and go scoop up Deshaun Jackson and just really shoot for upside and shoot for the moon and land flat on my face. Raiders, Washington football team, we've done that matchup. Let's move on to the rivalry game. Steelers versus Ravens, but this is not going to be a close contest. The Steelers are cheeks. They are demoralized. Big Ben is washed. I expect, assuming Lamar Jackson is healthy and doesn't have a serious case of the interceptionitis, that the Ravens should stomp the shit out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, maybe somehow Tomlin, we know he's a player's coach. Maybe he can get them going after they were humiliated, embarrassed. Maybe he can pick them up and get them to come out and play physical. And maybe, that might suit them because the Ravens are kind of that football team as well. So I still think the Ravens are going to win, but I think it could actually be closer than looking at last. You think the Ravens? You think the Ravens are going to murder them?
Yeah, it's a bounce back spot for the Ravens. The Ravens love to blitz. I think that's probably a good thing against this terrible, immovable or non-movable statue back there. Yeah. I think Marlon Humphrey's healthy, I believe. So he can man up on Deontay, try to take him away. I think it's going to be a tough game for the Steelers. Like I said, I don't think the Steelers are going to win another game this year. Maybe Cleveland, but other than that, their schedule is pretty tough, and I think this is the end. Najee, I guess you can play him, but
yeah, I was just going to say with those incoming blitzes, I just need some checkdowns to Najee. I'll take another 18 target game for Najee Harris or whatever the hell it was.
And hopefully Lamar can bounce back. I mean, he's had solid games against the Steelers in the past, but nothing great. But it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens come out after that abysmal performance they had last week.
Yeah, given Lamar's sort of poor performance and interceptions, they might try to maybe just dial it back a little bit, try and run the football, especially after we saw what the Bengals were able to do with pretty, what we thought was ordinary offensive line play, middle of the road. And so we might see some good run from Latavius Murray here. Maybe Devontae Freeman, it could be an interesting play. But yeah, it's not looking good for the Steelers. What a shame.
What a shame.
What a shame. Seahawks versus 49ers, another beautiful rivalry matchup. Seahawks absolutely suck, man. Like, obviously things ain't right with Russ. I don't know whether he's been rushed back. And I saw a great thread from Danny Kelly, who does the Ringer fantasy football show. And the last 3 years for the Seahawks in terms of drafting and free agency has been truly, truly abysmal. Like, they haven't hit at all. And when they won the Super Bowl and were competing for Super Bowls and were dominant, they hit time and time again in the draft on the defense with low-cost picks. They hit on Russell Wilson with a third-round pick, right? They were able to really piece together a great roster and hit. But we know nobody beats the draft. And it's just variance coming back. And the last few years have been a nightmare for them. They're paying the price. And even worse, right now they would be picking 4th in the NFL draft, I believe. They don't even have their 4th-round pick because they so wisely traded 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams, which was just ludicrous. Like, one of the most donkey-brain decisions I've seen in a long time by an organization. That was definitely up there. The Seahawks are on a collision course between Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, and it's just a mess. So I'm sorry, Seahawks fans. Your team stinks, and I think the 49ers are going to blow the brakes off you. Yeah,
it's a very interesting week. Obviously, with Debo banged up. Why are they playing Debo at running back like he's, Tom Roger Craig? Like,
because he is a running back.
Can my man get a reception? Can you run a route?
Nah.
But they're out there running him like he's, like Cordell Patterson 2.0 or something. He's just a piece. But yeah, I think, he's banged up. This is your guy, Ayuk's spot right here. This Seattle offense has been gross. Like, DK, what is DK right now? He's an afterthought. Lockett had a big play last game, but it's like Lockett comes out. He has like 3 catches for 75 yards in the first half, and it's just like, all right, cool, that was fun.
Ghost, yeah. See ya.
But I mean, at least he got you. At least he got you that last week. So yeah, I'm really unsure what we do with that Seattle offense at this point. I think Seattle loses this game as well. I think this is Russell Wilson's swan song, and this might be sad enough to say, but this might be, the beginning of the end for Russell Wilson. I'm kind of sad. Like, we got Big Ben. He was just dying.
No, come on, man. Russ has got plenty left, surely.
I don't know, man. He's not looking good.
He's only 33. He's just turned 33. He's got plenty left. I think.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
I think it's his swan song in Seattle. And quite frankly, definitely. If this game they get blown out and embarrassed, if I'm Russ, I'm benching myself for the rest of the year. I'm like, no, I need to give my finger time to heal, and I'm out of there. I'm done with that organization.
I wrote last week that if you have DK and Lockett in Dynasty, that it's time to look for other options. Maybe you could trade DK for Allen Robinson or Tyler Lockett for Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I think you could probably get a bit more for DK. And I love the talent, but you have to question, like, what the heck are the Seahawks going to do?
Well, what does that look about Russell Wilson?
I mean, the thing is, they can recoup assets because I was going to say, what do they do at quarterback? They don't have any first-round picks for the next
they would get something for Wilson.
Right, so you'd have to get something, so maybe it's not so dire. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what they do, but yeah. I can't. It's a tough Wilson? One. Yeah, Wilson for Wilson.
Zach.
Straight swap.
No,
Yeah, exactly. I think people hold on to their priors way too long, and a lot of people had DK as the number 1 dynasty wide receiver going into this season.
Oh, man.
And I think buying low on him is going to be extremely difficult because people will still hold on to that. So I think that's more. It's pretty unlikely. As crazy as it sounds, I'd actually be hedging on buying up more Tyler Lockett because there's still every chance Russ stays and that's his guy, or Tyler Lockett plays a position where any quarterback can come in and work with Tyler Lockett in the slot there. His ceiling is lessened if he plays without Russell Wilson. And then finally, like, if you're Russell Wilson going to a new team and Lockett's your guy, is it out of the realms of possibility that he says, hey, go and trade for Tyler Lockett as well? So I don't think his dynasty value is in the toilet as much as potentially it could be. And if he's a buy low, I'm always on team buy low Tyler.
I know you are.
All right, let's move on. We've got 2 games to cover. We'll fire through these quickly. We've got Kansas City versus the Broncos, which is bizarrely, surprisingly, and amazingly an important and relevant divisional game. The Broncos are just 1 game off the Chiefs at this point. In fact, the rest of the division are just 1 game off the Chiefs at this point. So it really is all to play for in the AFC West, which is wild. Like, imagine at the start of the year, be like, hey, we're going into week 13, and the rest of the division is 1 game back on the Chiefs. You'd be like, nah, mate, stop. Like you need to go get your head checked. But here we are. And I'm going to go out and say this could be a good game for Noah Fant, because the Chiefs can be had by the tight ends. He presents a matchup problem for them. Obviously, they got wide receivers all over the place. The Chiefs have started to defend better generally. But I like Noah Fant in this one.
I don't like Mahomes in this matchup. I think this is a bad spot for that Chiefs offense. I think he's just going to have to, dink and dunk his way down the field. This Vic Fangio defense is exactly what everyone else tries to mimic when they play the Chiefs. They basically play 2 high safeties, but those 2 high safeties are a lot more active than other teams' 2 high safeties. So they come down, they will fill in the run gaps as well, but they read and react to what those receivers are doing as well. So they do a lot more at those safeties than anyone else in the league, and they have the corners to kind of play some coverage there as well. So the Chiefs are obviously trying to do a lot of things where they put Kelsey on one side and they have the 3 receivers on the other side, and he basically either runs a dig or he's trying to it's more of an option route and just trying to see how they're going to guard him. But I think this Denver defense is a bad matchup for this Chiefs team, so I would probably lean to CH here as a good zig to that. So I think he might get going in this game.
Interesting. At the risk of massively oversimplifying things, do you not think that those safeties coming down and filling the box with some regularity and doing a bit more than other teams have been running against KC and having success and making Patrick Mahomes play in front of them, not get beat deep? Maybe they start running some play action that maybe this could be an opportunity for Tyreek Hill to get loose and a few deep shots for Patrick Mahomes.
I think they're very aware of, what's
of course. Like I said, it's a massive oversimplification, but I suppose
they play quarters. They play quarters a lot, so they got the 4 deep guys. And those safeties get rain to make more decisions than most teams, but at the same time, I don't see them biting on play action very much here in this one. They're like, if you're going to run the ball, kind of the old Bill Belichick way of playing Chiefs.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm looking forward to this one just because the high stakes of it. Always great watching the Chiefs, and it should be a real nice matchup. So I'm very curious to see how this one goes. Finally, a game that we've got some serious vested interest in, my friend, is the Bills Patriots.
Wait, they're playing this week? No, I'm kidding.
I was like, wait, what? First of all, got to clap it up for Corey, and his undying love for Kendrick Bourne over the last couple of years has just been paying off in a major way. If you have Kendrick Bourne, you're exceedingly happy. He is the wide receiver 15 since week 7, and he is first out of all receivers in fantasy points per snap. And that is the only problem. He has been highly efficient, and he's just not playing a huge allotment of snaps because, the Patriots scheme, they run a lot of 2 tight end sets. And so I really hope he earns some more snaps here against the Buffalo Bills. I think I'm still playing him. How can you not? He's been electric. And if you perform for the Patriots, you will get given more and more. We've seen that with slowly, Jonnu Smith started to come along. Now, I'm not advocating him from a fantasy perspective, but we've seen him get more and more responsibilities and get involved a little bit more. You get rewarded if you perform, and Kendrick Bourne has certainly been performing, looking every bit one of the top receivers in football at the moment. He's been playing like that. So I'm playing Kendrick Bourne, even what on paper seems to be a difficult matchup against the Bills, but in what is a bad blow for the Bills and a bit of a boon for the Patriots. Tre'Davious White has gone to IR. Doesn't mean that it's all over for the defense, but yeah, it's I'm looking forward to this one.
If you into props, I think Kendrick Bourne's prop bet has been at 2.5 receptions for the last 5 weeks, and he's just crushed every week. So yeah, I think this game has some weather to it. So I think there's some bit of gusty winds. So I don't know if that bodes well for Max cannon of an arm, and I say that as sarcastic as I can.
He's got enough. He's got enough juice on the ball to get it there.
Right. So, but I expect the Patriots to come out and try to establish a run in this game. I do see them, nickel and diming these guys as well in the passing game. So could be a big Jacoby game, could be another big Kendrick Bourne game, especially in the red zone where we know that has a prowess. He's done that for a few years now. So
he's just so shifty.
I like those guys, and he's tall. He's big. Yeah. He's a bigger receiver. And as far as the Bills side of things, I might be willing to play Matt Breida on a flex spot this week.
100% playing Matt Breida, because the Patriots just give it up, and a bit of a
what they're going to do anyway. They're going to play zone. They're going to try to
run the football. Okay, sure.
Matriculate the ball down the field, and they're going to hand the ball off to Matt Breida, and I think he's the most electric back in that backfield at the moment. So.
Well, he's more electric than healthy scratch Zach Moss. So, yes, completely agree with that. All right, in the interest of time, let's power through now. We've just got our streams left. Quarterback streams. Last week, I went with Tyrod Taylor. I was very bullish on him. I even said I'd start him over Aaron Rodgers. I did play him over Aaron Rodgers in one league. He scored 16. Aaron Rodgers scored 26. So that one didn't work out for me. I still won the matchup. So, in your face. But Tyrod had 16. And I couldn't remember. Did you tout Tua? Was Tua your pick?
Yeah, he was.
He was. So I edged out this last week, 16-13. Close one of the closest matchups we've had. So who's he going to be this week?
I'm taking Tyrod this week.
You're taking Tyrod this week. Okay. I love it. I love it. Nice. I'm also going to go with a mobile quarterback. And like I said, this show is coming out after Thursday Night Football. So if you listen to it, tell me, Taysom Hill, baby. Touchdown Taysom, the Mormon missile. Let's go. I'm ready.
Did look at Taysom.
Yeah, I just, he just gets so many carries and stuff. That's just that floor is there. So I'm going with that. Moving on over to the tight end side. Again, just another disgusting matchup. Disgusting matchup we had in week 12. I went for Evan Ingram. The targets were there. It just didn't work. It just didn't stick for him. He got 6 points, but it was enough to get it over Donald Parham, who had just 1.5 points. So I managed to pull one back in the tight end matchups for this season. Corey, the floor is yours. Who is going to be your tight end streamer for this week?
All right, my tight end streamer this week is going to be. We talked about train wrecks. Well, we're going Gerald Everett and that train wreck of an offense. So Gerald Everett,
good pick. Oh, it's a good pick. He was my number one pick.
Hopefully, he gets in the end zone again.
Yeah, that's a good pick. The last 3 weeks since Russ has come back, he's been pretty involved in the offense. So yeah, I do like that pick with Gerald Everett, and I have a feeling you're going to win this one. I'm going to go with James O'Shaughnessy for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dan Arnold has gone to IR. There's no pass catchers. It's just O'Shaughnessy, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So James O. I'm just going to write James O'Shag because I can't be bothered. Oh, typed it in the wrong cell. But so James O'Shaughnessy versus Gerald Everett in week 13. We'll see how we did on next week's episode. Just elite tight end matchup there. You love to see it. But Corey, that'll do it for this week, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're going to run it out of here. Good luck, everyone, for your Week 13 matchups. Don't forget to follow the Vault Studio on all social media platforms. We're everywhere. Follow Corey on Twitter at CMoney52. Follow yours truly at FF_downunder. Corey, anything else you want to add before we get on out of here?
Oh, good luck, and hopefully you make the playoffs.
That's it. We'll see you in the playoffs next week. Take care, everyone.